As the game wore on, it did, however, become more than a little difficult to concentrate, as the smell of soap, sweat, and deodorant was constantly wafting up my nose and heading directly to my crotch. As if that weren't enough, having Danny yell at me to bend over, then shoving his hands in my crotch as I hiked him the ball. Let's just say I was really rethinking my smart-ass decision to wear skin-tight jeans. The game stayed neck and neck in terms of score as it moved along. We were about halfway down the field from our goal line, and if we scored, the game would be over. I was beyond sick of listening to Donnie and his mouth. I'd heard the words pussy, pansy, sissy, queer, and Nelly about as much as I could stand for 1 decade. On top of that, almost everyone had their shirts off by then, and the scent and sights of all the sweaty beefcake. I needed to beat the other team so I could run home and beat off. I was nearing delirium, and so help me, even shithead McGee started to look good when I pictured him naked, with a ball gag in his mouth. I was literally panting, and doing my best to make it seem like I was just out of breath. In addition, I was seriously cursing myself for having Mom get me out of high school PE after only 2 weeks. Oh, the things I must have missed. Danny started snapping his fingers in my face. "Pay attention, fucker!" Okay, whoa. That nearly made me cum in my pants. Sorry, I'm with you. We're gonna take these motherfuckers down right now. Danny had a gleam in his eyes. It wasn't the least bit nice, but it was sexy as hell. I might have actually run in and robbed a 7-Eleven had he asked me to in that moment. Yeah! All the other guys yelled out in sync with deep, throaty, rip-your-head-off gusto. I was just about ready to throw myself onto the ground and beg to be gangbanged. Who knew team sports could make me so slutty? Danny grabbed my chin, making me focus on his eyes, as opposed to moist, glistening, rock hard, wish I could lick. You're gonna take us home on this one, Julian. I could see the other guys getting a bit nervous, along with me. I knew I'd garnered some respect for my speed, which kept the other team from making much ground when they tried to score. It seemed to make up for my uselessness when it came to helping us score. No one here can catch you, buddy. You're the fastest little shit I've ever seen, and no one from their side will be paying any attention to you. Danny, I can't catch. I squeaked out in a please don't make me voice. He looked at me with a you can and you will expression that made me more nervous. Honestly, I've never been able to catch anything. Danny let out a frustrated, blustering sigh. All right, fuckers. Here's what we're gonna do. As Danny went over his plan, or play, or whatever it was called, I could see his eyes flit over to Donnie and the other team. The intensity coming off my guys to shove the other team's fucking noses into the dirt was intoxicating. I knew as I stood hunched over in the sweaty huddle of man-meat that I would most likely never be the same after that afternoon. As we broke and got into position, I bent over to hike the ball, and Danny patted my ass, giving it a rough squeeze before shoving his hands into my crotch. That was apparently all the motivation I needed. I hiked him the ball and wriggled my little body through the line of hard-muscled opposition. I ran down the field, keeping my eyes peeled and focused on Chris, who had Donnie hot on his tail. I turned, veering toward Chris as he did the same toward me. Chris jumped up and caught the ball when he was about 5 feet away. He landed just before we passed one another and handed the ball off to me. I veered off toward the goal line. When I glanced back, I saw that it had worked. Donnie was still chasing Chris. Then, realizing what had happened, he turned toward me. I smiled as I tore down the field, knowing no one was going to catch me. I'd had tons of experience running as a kid. Getting from my house to Kara Cardwell's on the other side of our subdivision became no easy feat with Gary Ham's house smack between my house and hers. Gary had been the bane of my childhood existence, especially after he'd gone through some Chernobyl-like growth spurt at the age of 10. That summer, before the start of 5th grade, I became a sprinter. Forrest Gump had nothing on this bitch. I crossed the finish line and slowed to a stop. I could feel the biggest shit-eating grin in the world stretch my face. I turned to see Donnie coming to a stop several feet away. My teammates all came running up, slapping my ass and shoving me around. I swear to you, the disgust on Donnie's face was the only thing that kept me from falling to my knees and start grabbing for cocks. When I saw Donnie's jaw clenching and knew my victory would eat away at him for the rest of his rotten life, something snapped in me. That's when it happened. "Who's the pussy now, roid boy?" I pushed away from my teammates and began jumping around like I was on fire. "You just got lucky!" Donnie yelled. I was oblivious as the testosterone level and man-scent overload I was hyped up on took me over. It was a bit like an out-of-body experience as I took the football and held it down between my legs, pretending like it was a big, hard cock, and yelled, "Suck on this, you punk-ass bitch! Pinky boy just wiped the court with your punk ass!" Everyone was snickering as Danny whispered, "Field, not court." "That too!" I yelled as Donnie spun around in a tizzy and stormed off, muttering stuff under his breath. Danny walked up and slammed his chest into mine. I fell back onto my ass as Danny looked down at me wide-eyed. "What the fuck?" We looked at each other in shock. Then I glanced past Danny to the rest of my teammates, all doing chest bumps and high fives a few feet away. I began laughing as Danny helped me back up. Dude, my first chest bump. I suddenly began to feel like one of the boys. The feeling was short-lived, though. Danny brought me all the way to my feet, then tossed me up over his shoulder. He spun me around to carry me back to the rest of the guys. I laughed and called out to Donnie in a high-pitched, girly voice. "Come back, loser!" Danny smacked me on the ass. "Settle down there. I think he got the point." "The best fucking day ever!" I yelled out, laughing. I could feel a low, rumbly laugh radiate through Danny's body as he put me back down and I high-fived my team. It wound up being the only time I ever played football with the guys. Not because I hadn't been invited back, but I honestly didn't think my cock could take the torture. I practically beat myself raw that night with an erection that refused to stay down.